Hello, everybody. It's me. It's the Nutty Professor and a special guest appearance from a family member who wriggled off. I am, of course, the Nutty Professor. And there was a cameo appearance by Black Cat Kid in a previous podcast, and in this podcast is particularly important because this is a special Halloween edition podcast. And rather than call it Halloween, I'm going to call it the Nutty Professor's Samhain podcast. As I think most people know, Halloween can actually be traced back originally to the Celtic, and the Gaelic word was, Samhain. So it's spelt Samhain, but the H is silent, so it's Samhain. I think originally it was Samhain, and it was the Harvest Festival, in which the spirits of the dead were appeased. So this is dead relatives, ancestors. They would set a plate for them at the table. They'd feast them because they needed help from the spirits, to have a bountiful harvest and to survive a possibly harsh winter. So they would celebrate the lives of the dead and invite them and all of that. And then that ended up getting co-opted by All Saints Day, and All Souls Day. So it became turned into the Halloween that we know now with the trick or treating and all of that stuff. But in Mexico, it's a very big festival. It goes for more than a day. It's called the Day of the Dead Festival. Yeah, and I have a personal anecdote to relate. My relatives. So this is my cousin and her grown children, and I think technically she's my first cousin, once removed or twice removed or something. But I call her my niece, and I call her children my niece and nephew as well. But they visited me. They took me out for dinner after my birthday, which I talked about in a previous podcast. And I had a birthday edition podcast. But they took me out for dinner and they brought me a couple of very symbolic gifts. And I'm going to show one now. So my cousin niece, when she was on vacation in Mexico, she found this and she knows what a cat person I am and how much I'm into symbolism. And she knew also about my addiction. So she brought a Day of the Dead cat figurine. And some people might kind of freak out. It's a skeletal cat, but as I said, it celebrates the life. It's a celebratory thing, and in symbolism, I've talked about tarot in a previous podcast. But in tarot, the death card, people get it, they freak out. But it's not always negative. The death card in tarot is symbolic of change, of regeneration, of renewal, and that kind of fits my struggling with addiction and with the, change and all of that stuff. So I thought it was a very symbolic, wonderful gift, and they also brought so her son, my second cousin, once removed, my nephew, he went to quite a bit of trouble to find this, and I don't know if you can see it clearly in this, it's in glass. I don't want to take it out, but he found it and he had it framed. It's meant to be a werewolf in chains, and I think this one was a bit of a mix. I think the father may have been a demon, or maybe King Kong, the mother a werewolf. You can see if you look closely the ears are kind of pointed and the fangs are kind of werewolfy. So, but he went through all that trouble because I think he's one of the few people in the world, relative or non-relative, who has actually seen all of my podcasts, and he knows that I had talked about the werewolf as a metaphor, as a personification of it, for addiction, and symbolically, I had talked about how I wanted my werewolf to be in chains. And he went to trouble. He found this wonderful picture of a werewolf in chains. Now, ultimately, and in another podcast, I did talk about David Bowie and a very famous picture of him, and he struggled with addictions too. But he was standing next in this picture, is standing next to a black wolf. It's not a werewolf, but it's close enough. And no chains. And that's the stage I want to get to. For now, it's in chains. It's straining at the chains, but it's still in chains. So they were wonderful gifts. Now, in Mexico, as I said, it's a big celebration. My student, when I told him about this, and I showed him this skeletal cat, he said that there's a Disney movie, apparently, I think Pixar, of called Coco, about a Mexican child who goes to the land of the dead, and he comes back, and it's animated, so all the characters are those kind of skeletal characters that he meets in his ancestors, and there's a story and a plot and all of that stuff. And it's, again, I haven't seen the movie, but it's very symbolic. In mythology and in literature, a lot of heroes have to go to the land of the dead, to the underworld. And for example, Odysseus traveled to the land of the dead to meet, dead people with his men who died and this famous poet and all that stuff, who gave him instructions for how to get home. So it's a symbolic journey, and there's a Mexican poet, was a famous Mexican poet named Octavio Paz, and he was a poet, a politician, a diplomat, and sometimes classified as an existentialist, surrealist. We've come across existentialists before in podcasts, Camus and Sartre, the search for meaning in the face of death and related it to COVID and all of that stuff. But Octavio Paz wrote about this, how symbolic and how, death, the role that death plays in Mexican culture, So he wrote a lot, and he won a Nobel Prize eventually too. But so there is a whole association here. Now, I started with my with black cats. Black cats are associated with Halloween because of the whole superstition, supposedly witches and black cats and all of that stuff. In some cultures, I've heard that a black cat is considered lucky. In some Asian cultures and some parts of the UK, that traditionally black cats are seen as the familiars of witches. Now, I really hope my cat is not listening to this. I don't see him anywhere, but and this is kind of horrifying to me. But apparently, back in the times of the Salem witch hunts, the Puritan, in the United States, when they would burn witches, that was bad enough. But they would burn supposed witches. Burn their black cats. It's so horrifying that I just hope my cat didn't hear this. So anyway, but as I said, some cultures is lucky, and I have children, and I wear black cats, and I consider myself to be an honorary black cat, they always wear black, So the Halloween or Samhain is a important celebration for us. So and I want to just end by saying I want to wish everyone so I want to wish strugglers, civilians, cats, black cats, all cats, humans, I want to wish everybody a happy, I don't know if you can say happy Samhain. It's kind of, how about a spirited Samhain? How about just a safe Samhain? Okay, so a safe Samhain to you all from the Nutty Professor and his cat family. Okay, bye for now.